Morning team, it's me, your favourite, Jordan at the screen, and today I wish to talk to you about unconscious bias in hiring practices. I know how to read my script. Anywho, if you were to ask any gender socialist, that's my new hip term for feminist, if you were to ask any gender socialist about unconscious bias in hiring practices, they will undoubtedly mention the glass ceiling, making this bold claim that when gender is considered, women fare worse in the professional realm. This is supposedly an effect of the patriarchy and is evidence of female subjugation. However, as with all other claims made by these gender socialists, this one does not stand to even a modicum of scrutiny. They, without evidence of this practice in effect, claim that because there are few women at the top, that this must therefore be evidence of some kind of invisible hand pulling women down. The ends are evidence of the means, apparently. Obviously, as I should really say. I mean, this is feminist rhetoric. We are not ones to question it, else we'll be considered as misogynists. However, returning back to my script, in Britain, we have a report commissioned by none other than Harriet Harman, oh how we love her, which show that 33% of directors, managers, and senior officials in occupations with the highest pay are female. Despite 1 in 3 of these successful positions going to women, we are still told that women have it tough. As, misogyny or something. Anywho, they also fail to acknowledge the evidence from Ceci and Williams, who found that with, and I'm quoting now, they found, with some notable exceptions, the playing field is now level for women and men in terms of hiring into tenure track appointments, tenure, impact, promotion, job satisfaction, and remuneration. They conclude by suggesting that although in the past gender discrimination was an important cause of women's underrepresentation in scientific academic careers, this claim has continued to be invoked after it has ceased being a valid cause of women's underrepresentation in math-intensive fields. It's because they were looking at STEM, you see. So, arguing that women are held back because of gender discrimination is, well, garbage, and it quite frankly does not represent reality. In fact, Ceci and Williams went one step further. They decided to investigate STEM, because, they really like STEM, because it's a feminist hotpot of career oppression. And, it's also the place where women are held back by patriarchal jokes from old men who want to keep women out or something else, something, I don't know, they're feminists. Ceci and Williams found, and I'm quoting again, in experiments with professors from 371 colleges and universities across the United States, that science and engineering faculty preferred women 2 to 1 over identically qualified male candidates for assistant professor positions. Well, I'll be. It appears this elusive patriarchy has failed. Women are supposed to be held back from STEM because evil men and old white men with beards keep women out of science because that's what men do, or something. Fuck knows. But I know what you're thinking. Jordan, those 2 studies are from 2014 and 2015. That's old news, so why the fuck are you bringing it up? Well. Just as we have those bits of data from across the pond, now do we have some new data from the other side of the world. A new study from the behavioural economics team of the Australian government, bit of a mouthful, and their acronym is BETA, because that's a good acronym to go for. They wanted to assess whether women and minorities are discriminated against in the early stages of recruitment and to test the impact of a blind or de-identified approach of reviewing candidates. The assumption here being that if you do not know the gender or race of the candidate, that should therefore limit any negative bias against these protected characteristics and should bolster diversity, because apparently we want diversity rather than, I don't know, meritocracy, someone who's good at the job. I don't care what you are, so long as you're good at what you do. But hey, that's just a radical idea. Let's not worry about any of that sort of thing. And they found, and I quote directly now, The results indicate the need for caution when moving towards blind recruitment processes in the APS, Australian Public Services, as de-identification may frustrate efforts aimed at promoting diversity. In other words, working towards blind meritocracy hampers diversity. This is seen as a problem because it would appear they want to hire people based on what they are rather than what they can do. Fuck. And so, almost without any self-awareness, the beta director, that's his name now, the beta director mentions in the foreword that, and I'm quoting, "In the trial, we found that overall APS officers generally discriminated in favour of female and minority candidates." Well, this actually does not surprise me, considering the previous two studies that we just spoke about. He continues by saying, and I quote, "This suggests that the APS has been successful to some degree in efforts to promote awareness and support for diversity among senior staff." So therefore, you'd suspect that if, when they're opening their study, they can find that actually there is bias going on, but in their favour, that they wouldn't do the study. I mean, surely they should be against that sort of bias because you want the best person for the job, not bias towards, ethnicity or, physical sex. But apparently you're allowed to do that when it's towards certain demographics, but we'll get into that discussion another day. So, they continue, without irony, by stating, and another quote now, "Introducing de-identification of applications in such a context may have the unintended consequence of decreasing the number of female and minority candidates shortlisted for senior APS positions, setting back efforts to promote more diversity at the senior management levels in the public service." So the plan to lower discrimination works, but not in their favour. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. And so I just need to scrub down my script. Overall, their results show participants were 2.9% more likely to shortlist female candidates and 3.2% less likely to shortlist male applicants when they were identifiable, compared with when they were de-identified. Beautiful. Minority males were 5.8% more likely to be shortlisted, and minority females were 8.6% more likely to be shortlisted when identifiable compared to when applications were de-identified. Because this world is such a hateful place, isn't it? The positive discrimination was strongest for Indigenous female candidates, who were 22.2% more likely to be shortlisted when identifiable compared to when the applications were de-identified. Fuck-a-doodle-doo. It's just like as if you're trying to prove that there's some evil sexism and racism against women and minorities, and then you go into the study and it turns out it's the fucking reverse. That it's not against them, it's for them, and it just... And it produced this lovely little graph, which I should hopefully have on the screen now if I know how to do editing. And, wow, look, the only demographic that seems to be suffering is Anglo-Celtic males, at minus 6.5%. Wow! Yeah. Do correct me if I'm wrong on this, but surely when they say Anglo-Celtic, don't they mean white? I don't want to be pedantic about terminologies, but maybe not all the white people in Australia are Anglo-Celtic. Some of them might have been there long enough for you to start to refer to them as Australian. They might have been there a few generations. Anglo-Celtic. Jesus, I mean, that is some nice, beautiful, delicious, postmodernist bullshit. And you can say white. It's okay to say white. Look, I'm white. I'm white as shit. Let's see if I've got any paper. I've got napkins for my kebab. Good. Look, oh, crikey, I am beige. But you know what I'm saying. Fucking beige, Jesus Christ. You can say white. You can say white. Saying white shouldn't be offensive, but hey, whatever. But ultimately, what this data shows is the bullshit belief that they had that women and minorities were being oppressed and that white men were being promoted. It's garbage. In fact, it's the inverse. And so let us now, therefore, compare the change in message from the beginning of the study to the end. Now they've got this information. Let's start, and this is going to be a paragraph quote. We are excited to share the findings from our trial testing the impact of de-identifying applications for senior positions in the Australian Public Service. The trial examines one critical part of the recruitment process, the way the APS initially evaluates applications and shortlists the top candidates to build the best possible workforce. The aim was to assess whether de-identifying applications would, by eliminating the effects of explicit or implicit bias, help promote gender equality and diversity in hiring at senior executive levels. Now, here's the end. Let's see if we can notice any change in tone in regards to diversity and bias, especially in discrimination, and whether or not they think discrimination and bias is a negative thing. The overall implications of our study are that, on average, across a broad range of APS agencies, introducing de-identification would have the unintended consequence of setting back efforts to promote more diversity at the senior management level in the public service. As things stand, senior public servants appear to be promoting diversity in the way they make decisions when selecting job candidates for shortlists during the initial stage of the recruitment process. This is not possible if applications are de-identified. So let us deconstruct, because people love deconstructing in this day and age, so let us deconstruct the original and the end, because I'm pretty sure you notice a slight change there. How they went from wanting de-identification because they were worried women and minorities were being discriminated against, so did their study only to find actually Anglo-Celtic white men were being discriminated against, and de-identification would limit this misandrist and anti-Anglo-Celtic or anti-white bias, and are now suddenly against de-identification because they want to keep promoting women and minorities despite the fact that they are already being promoted. I see no agenda here whatsoever. And before these cultural Marxists and professionally offended jump in and go, oh, you just want white men to be getting jobs. No, I just want people to get the jobs because they're fucking good at it. Because believe it or not, I want people to be successful. I want businesses to be successful. And seeing as there's a fucking government we're talking about now, this is a government program, we want people going in there not because of, hey, look, I'm X and Y and Z demographics. I want them going in there actually because they're fucking good at their jobs. They're in government, for Christ's sake. And so they reiterate their agenda further. Quote, our results help to demonstrate the importance of testing interventions to address diversity before introducing them at full scale. An intervention that was thought to enhance the chances of traditionally disadvantaged groups being shortlisted for a senior role in the APS by removing bias would have, in all likelihood, lessened their chances. The findings provide impetus for conducting more rigorous evaluations of new and existing initiatives aimed at countering explicit and implicit forms of discrimination and increasing gender, racial, and ethnic diversity at all levels. This is cultural socialism in action. Well done, Australia. Well fucking done. Just beautiful. Goodbye. Goodbye, blind meritocracy. Goodbye, judging you on the value of your work than on what you are. You know, who was it that said, I have a dream that, kids will be judged by the content of their character, not by the colour of their skin. I suppose that's just gone right out the fucking window. But hey, if you think everybody should be treated equally and fairly irrespective of their demographics, well, I guess that makes you a fucking racist now, doesn't it? God, that wine tastes like cat piss. Anyway, back to the script. In fact, they are so determined to find bias where it does not exist, they are willing to ignore their original statistics that show that bias most likely does not exist. Quote, women are almost 50% of the Australian workforce, but are underrepresented in management and executive level positions. This is evident not just in the private sector, but also in many areas of the APS. In 2016, women comprised 59.0% of the APS as a whole, but accounted for 48.9% of its executive level officers, and only 42.9% of its senior executive services officers. End quote. So, just to go through, just to clarify, just to simplify, just to get to the raw bones of what you're trying to say, is that women are half the population, over half of your workforce, your APS workforce, so they're overrepresented. They're nearly half of executive officers, so that's fine, and only just under half of the senior executives. And yet you're still screaming bias, when your evidence that you had already before doing the study seems to suggest that there is no bias, that women are doing just fine. It didn't say anything too much about ethnic minorities and indigenous people, but I mean, this is just cultural socialism in fucking action. The fact that you just want to keep pushing this agenda, this non-existent bullshit idea of oppression, that people are being held back when they're fucking not. Well, actually, in this circumstance, the only people who are being fucking held back, if I scrub back up to that beautiful figure 3, minority bias, what is the effective identification on the shortlist, you'll see the only people who actually are being fucking held back are Anglo-Celtic males. Well, where's their fucking reports looking out for them? Hopefully there are some, but I'm not going to go looking at the moment because I'd rather drink this cat piss red wine and just get angry at the world. Oh, I'm putting that over there. So yeah, Australia, as your parent, as a representative, I'm going to assume the identity or the role of a representative of your parent nation. Yeah, you're fucking grounded. You've been naughty, bad Australia, bad. No dinner before bed. You've misbehaved. You're coming out with shite like this study, where you're creating this hysteria, this garbage idea of oppression where it doesn't exist, and you're pushing it on a fucking governmental level. You dickheads. You actual dickheads. Anyway, that's me. Signing off. Oh yeah, that's the thing I've got to say at the end. Toodle pip.